Hi, good morning, good evening, as per your time zone. I'm Kumkum Sharma from Bridge, and I'm back again on live open session by Saket Bansal. And this is episode 53. So let's clap for us for running 53 episodes so far and helping many professionals and sharing the knowledge. So, on the behalf of entire Eisenbridge team, I would like to welcome you all here. So, without wasting any more time, let's start the session. Meanwhile, people are joining and they are, thinking about the questions. Let me help you with the agenda. So, as always, the agenda is driven by you, not driven by us. So, whatever questions you have for your career growth, the right certification for your growth, you can ask. Feel free to drop your questions in the comment box. We are live on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can use the comment box to share your questions. I'll add your questions, and Saket will answer your questions. So I have one questions before starting this session. So let me take the opportunity. Okay. So I'll post my questions. I got this question on LinkedIn sometime back. Let me just post my question, Saket, for you. Okay, let me just. There you go.
So it's been a while. Yeah. Uh, I'm not
Uh,
sure if it is here,
I'm
but
posting my question.
in the meantime, so okay, we have seen here. Yeah. So how can a Scrum Master assist the Scrum team to adopt agile practices as it relate to technical design? Uh, okay. So see, the role and responsibility of Scrum Master may vary based on the type of organization you are working in. And I can see that we have another question also. What is a typical day of a Scrum Master? So in order to take care of this, recently we wrote a detailed blog on roles and responsibility of Scrum Master. I would invite all the participants to look at this particular blog. Here we have elaborated this particular thing in more detail. I can get a little briefing about it. Let me see if I can share the screen. So share screen, I go here. So here you can see this is a particular block which I am talking about, role and responsibilities of Scrum Master, and where we talk about competencies of a Scrum Masters, and then we have identified various areas where we are looking at responsibilities like enabling delivery, developing people, developing high performing teams, supporting value alignment, improving flow, enabling agility, and supporting the sprint execution. Yeah, so that all is part of Scrum Master role. Now, most of these tasks may not get done daily, yeah, but again, we can say if we have a list of 20, 30 tasks, these tasks will get performed at some frequency by the Scrum Master. So the follow-up question which is saying that, how do we do, what is a typical day of a Scrum Master, depending upon which particular day we are talking about, maybe during the initial days, good time goes into planning and facilitating iteration execution. Later on, it goes into 101 team building activities, as well as taking care of external impediments as well, and maybe involving many organization level activities as well. So my recommendation is to look at this particular blog in detail to understand the role and responsibility of a Scrum Master. Yeah. So that's one recommendation for the question, which may probably take care of a typical day of a Scrum Master. Now, how I promote agile practices. So the expectation from a Scrum Master is that they should facilitate in helping the build-in quality, ensuring the teams are looking at technical excellence on a regular basis, and we are facilitating the overall development so that we have good quality built in the whole system. So how I do it? By way of helping team to see if there is a shortcuts, helping team to create better definition of done, helping team to learn technical practices which helps them in reducing rework and helping them in doing a better quality work. So I can bring specific example if I am working already in that environment, but in general we can say that yes, I have a responsibility of training, mentoring, coaching, facilitating improvement which can lead to improving built-in quality. Okay, so what is meant by software requirements and recommendation document? Yeah, is that different? So I have not seen the software recommendation document that frequently, so I am not sure what does it mean. We need to see in which context this has been used. It may not look to me, it doesn't look to me as a very common word, but maybe from a word itself I can pick up it might be talking about high level recommendations which may need to be further refined for the level of requirements. Yeah, so that's something I can pick from this particular conversation. Yeah. Okay, so here we go further in this case. So is software requirement document, so I am not aware about recommendation document, so that's the thing. Yeah. Now, is the software requirement document could be a functional requirement document also? It depends upon how the organizations are using it. Usually, it might have the overlaps. So say functional requirement document may only focus on the requirement and functionality which is needed from the overall solution. But when it becomes more specific to software, many organizations starts to calling it a software requirement document, yeah, or a software requirement specification. In that case, they are more relating to the implementation. But I am not aware of anything called recommendation document. I think we can probably see where the source was coming in. Okay, we go forward. So what is a capacity planning versus velocity versus predictability of Scrum team? What exactly of a role of a Scrum Master there? So again, recently we wrote a blog explaining the idea of velocity in detail, and we also explained the 4 good uses of velocity and possibly 4 not so good uses of velocity. So if you visit our Eisenbridge/blog, you can get that particular blog in detail. It's not very far. It is just like last week only we published that. So my recommendation is to check that. Now, what is the difference between velocity and capacity? Capacity is usually linked with available productive hours. So how many days or how many hours are available to you is called capacity. The velocity is something which is used to quantify the amount of work done by the team, yeah, together in a given environment. So we can say velocity is our speed of moving towards our goal. Yeah, so it's a speed of movement towards the goal. So velocity is usually measured in a story points, whereas a capacity is usually measured in the hours or days. Yeah, that's the one level of difference. Now, do they have a correlation? At some amount of correlation should be there between velocity and capacity, may not be a very linear, which means if you have more capacity, it is expected to produce more velocity over a period of time, not necessarily immediately, but over a period of time, your velocity will also go up. Now, what is my role as a Scrum Master? It remains the same. I ensure the fact-based reflection is happening. My team, my stakeholders are aware of the facts, like what was our velocity last iteration, last sprint, what is our capacity this sprint or next sprint, and how the trend is going when it comes to velocity and capacity. I ensure my team is reflecting on the idea of velocity, and if we see some pattern, negative pattern, sinusoidal pattern in our velocity, so I ensure we reflect on it during our retrospective meeting. So the idea of Scrum Master role is holding the mirror, ensuring our stakeholders and our teams know where we are, and ensuring that people who are expected to act on that information take that information seriously. They reflect on it, I expose the pattern of it, and that's how I perform my Scrum Master role. Again, I recommend two blogs, the velocity blog and the roles and responsibility of Scrum Master blog. These two blogs can help you in finding these details in a little better way. Yeah. So why the most of the organizations are not using the term sunk cost fallacy, I don't know. So terms, I think, depends. Everybody has some vocabulary which people use. So probably that could be the reason, but I don't know exactly why some organizations are, or most organizations are not using. I don't have that much idea where I can say that most organizations are not using. What I see that these kind of high level conversations related to sunk cost and all are usually used in little process matured organizations. If you work in the organization where process is pretty much matured, the management theories are pretty much mature, the decision making is based on the facts and processes, then you will see this conversation happening on a regular basis. So if I talk about my own experience when I worked and train in and coach people in the product space, and especially if they have manufacturing and mechanical and IT all together, I see sunk cost is used, scrap cost is used like in every 1 or 2 hour conversation. But when I use and work with IT, pure IT organization, I don't see that they're using that particular thing. Maybe in their management space, they may not be having that much relevance to it. Yeah. So vocabulary for conversation varies. That's something we can focus on depending upon what organizations are saying. Okay, so what we say is the future state of MVP is MBI. You can say so. Yeah, you can say so. The after working for multiple, if in a PMP terminology, for a PMP exam perspective, after working on 1 or 2 MVP, you understand where you want to target your product, you understand your market segment, you correct the mistakes if there are any, and then you start delivering incremental value, which will become your MBI. You also have a blog and video explaining the difference between MVP and MBI. But yeah, I can go with your recommendation or a comment. Yeah. Okay, so what is the difference between specifications and deliverables? So I would say the deliverable is something complete, yeah, which probably will help us in achieving our objectives. The details or a characteristic of a deliverable can be identified in the form of specifications. Yeah. So most of you might have asked while you are buying your laptop, what is your specification for the laptop? Yeah. And you buy the laptop. So you know what is the difference between specification of a laptop and the laptop. So laptop is explained with its specification. Yeah. And with the help of specification, we understand that particular laptop. So laptop is a deliverable. So deliverable is a packet which makes various specification really work for you. And the characteristics and the details of that deliverable can be understood with the help of knowing its spec. Yeah, that's how we can relate it. So transformational and transactional approach for leadership. I don't know, to me this looks very heavy words, yeah. But in general, the transactional approach is associated with short-term approach. In a say, you can say, you give me this, I give you this, and we both are happy. Thank you. Go next. Yeah, that's it. That's a transactional approach. Transformation approach, as a word means, is more like we are going to work together and we will improve and transform to achieve something better. So when I am focusing on a person and leading the team, if my goal is to transform the team into productive, high performing team, I will say that I am taking a long-term view. I am approaching a transformational way. But if I am taking piece by piece, this week we have this goal, you achieve it, thank you. Next week we will have another goal, achieve it. I don't care what happens after that. We can see it's a transactional approach. We are working from one milestone to another milestone. Yeah, but I believe, especially for PMP exam, all these words and confusions, if you start thinking too much about it, the only output of this all terminology thing is delay in exam. Yeah. In a practical word, we understand that these words will hardly be visible in the exam from a decision making point of view. Maybe there could be 4 or 5 questions where there could be some confusion, but with the help of elimination you will be able to identify it. So whatever word comes in any practice test or in any content, if we start getting too serious about it, then we will delay our PMP exam. So especially for you, I think don't get into so many terminologies if you are relating them to a PMP exam perspective. Okay, so what approach do you suggest for getting Scrum Master role? So first important thing is I need to understand Scrum Master role. Yeah, and that understanding of the Scrum Master role should be reflected in my profile and should be reflected in my conversation and should be reflected in my job description, in my work description, which I am giving for myself. So for all these purposes, we have added various blogs nowadays. So we have a blog which explains in a very comprehensive manner roles and responsibilities of Scrum Master. That blog is not limited to what Scrum talks about Scrum Master. It is going into the details of what industry expect from the Scrum Master. So as a aspiring Scrum Master, I should know what is at the stake. Then after having it, I need to see how my current experience, my current opportunity is helping me to do that job. That's the second thing. And then third, I see how my profile is reflecting that job in a clear way. For that also, we wrote a blog which spoke about what all consideration one should do when they are preparing for their profile or a CV for the Scrum Master job. So please take these 3 ideas together. Now, in order to learn from a training perspective, yes, definitely doing certified Scrum Master certification can give you the expectation which a Scrum or a Scrum Alliance has from the Scrum Master. So you learn that. Maybe it will fit into a good percentage of organization a way of looking at a Scrum Master role. And then we also have an industry enabled Scrum Master which can help you in getting little outer layer of the role and help you in getting ready with the tools and techniques which are needed for the Scrum Master. So I can educate myself, I can practice those skills, I can demonstrate those skills which are needed for Scrum Master job. So first I need to know the skills with the help of roles and responsibilities. Then I need to learn about them, practice about them, and demonstrate them in my profile. And all these things are together, people will be happy to take us because they will get good value by hiring us. So PMP certified candidate, is it right to do Scrum Master certification? So depends. If your recruiter is looking for it, then it is right. If your recruiter is not looking for it, then it is not right. Many times we do see a combination of CSM and PMP certifications are visible in the job descriptions. So certification is not equal to learning. Certification is not equal to knowledge, but certification is equal to my commitment for learning, my attitude for improving myself. So you can definitely demonstrate your commitment for learning, your attitude towards learning with the help of certification. And especially when people are doing, when you are, when some, mostly the systems are doing resume filtration, CV filtration, they may have some specific keywords which might be having certifications also in it. So you need to see if you are finding these needs in your target job roles. If yes, then you do it. If you see none of your target job profile is looking for it, then you don't do it. Mostly if you are working in the IT space, people are expected to do hybrid project management. Even though you might have done PMP in last 2 years, which includes good amount of agile, but your recruiters, your stakeholders who are reviewing your CV may not be aware what is happening in a PMP exam right now. They might have the old perception of PMP, which was pure focus on traditional way of working. So people who are your recruiter or the managers who is reviewing your CV having old prescription or old perception of PMP may get convinced when they see a Scrum certification in your profile and say, this guy can work in a multiple ways rather than only working in a traditional ways. So that's a possible benefit one you can get from Scrum certification. So I don't know boss card method of project charter, never heard of it. Yeah, so maybe it's a way of putting the details into a project charter. Yeah, you can use it if it is helpful for you. Anytime people try to create some templates, structure for it, so it could be your boss card. Yeah. So background, objective, scope, constraint, assumption, risk, and deliverable. So what do I see missing here? Possibly that's what I can see here. So there is no talking about the teams. Yeah. So that's might not be a good thing to do. I don't see talking about stakeholder, which may not be a good thing to do. You should have a stakeholder also in the key stakeholders identified in it. Maybe the scope might not be needed, rather than we can say high level scope in the charter. If the scope is well defined or having in the charter may not be, the charter is probably too detailed. So it depends. Yeah, from my side I can say from your acronym, the stakeholder and team information seems to be obviously critically missing, and details of key milestone is something critically missing, which should be there in a project charter. Again, we do have a blog explaining project charter and the content which it should contain. But if you want to have a shortcut, if you want to only have a 7 areas into it, your organization is happy with it, you may follow that. So Microsoft ADO, not yet. We have not yet explored ADO. Yeah, environment that matches safe, not seen it as of now. So what is the role of Scrum Master in estimation? So again, the roles and responsibility of a Scrum Master helps you in understanding the Scrum Master role in detail. Because there was a gap between our sessions because of various reasons and because of things, I realized that most of the questions comes related to role and responsibility of a Scrum Master, and that's why I created a comprehensive blog about it. So that's available to you. Now, what is the role? I should ensure everybody participate in the estimation process. My team participate in it. I should ensure my team understand the importance or an objective of given estimate. So for example, when we are doing estimate at a story point level, or when we are doing estimate at a sprint level, they have a different objectives. So making people clear about objective of estimation, ensuring the right amount of discussion is happening when we are doing estimation, right amount, not too detailed, not too less. So that's something is there. So that's the idea. So overall, educating about the estimation process, ensuring engagement in the estimation process, getting to the appropriate level of detail as per the goal of estimation, and ensuring the estimation get revisited as we have better information available. That's the role of any leader in estimation, be it a Scrum Master or be it a project manager, because we are focusing on creating autonomy in the team. We are focusing engagement, and with the engagement and autonomy, we want to create a better team. So that's what I can say at a high level, the role of Scrum Master in doing estimation. So I am not sure you should use fake smile or not fake smile. I don't know. This all depends upon individual personality. Why you want to do a fake smile? Why don't you do a real smile? Yeah. So probably, yeah. And confusion matrix, I don't know what do you mean by confusion matrix. If you are referring to some PMP technique, I don't think it will come in the exam. Which technique is used by Scrum Master to measure its team's maturity? You probably don't have to measure yourself. You need to make sure the team measure the team maturity. So see, what is the goal? As we learned, and the role and responsibility of Scrum Master tells you very clearly, I need to ensure the agility is improving in my team. I need to ensure the self-management is improving in my team. So how do I ensure that the agility and self-management improvement in my team? That's a question which I need to think for my team. I need to bring some mechanism to show them the mirror, a feedback. So I need to produce a feedback loop so that team can reflect and improve in their ways of working. So what are those feedback? We need to understand what all parameters can play a role. Now, many organization has their own assessment framework which they use. Yeah, you can use some standard assessment frameworks also. Many organization use the Spotify team health check. You can use that. You can use also Atlassian team health check. There is a, you can search on Google, you can find the URL. And if you are working in a safe context, you can definitely use the measure and grow, the competency matrices which are there for measuring or in a way reflecting on the maturity or the processes. So it is not a very scientific measurement. The maturity, even as a human maturity, I can't have a number which tells you are mature at level 1.1. Yeah. It is a subjective assessment. Now, if you give me maturity level 10, what does it mean? It is a useless information for me. But if it helped me in finding out what I can do to improve so that I have a better life for myself, then it's a useful number for me. But if you are just labeling me, you are at maturity level 10, then it's a useless information. That's the thing. And 10 as a number doesn't make anything. I will not get paid because I have a maturity level 10. Yeah, I go for a job and says I have a maturity level 10, give me more money. People may not care for my maturity level, which is coming from one assessment. And there are some psychometric assessment which may give me some maturity level number. What is important is how do we make use of those numbers? Yeah. So better we focus on a word like assessment rather than measurement. We focus on reflection and feedback, and definitely we can use tools like health check, Atlassian health check, or scaled agile assessments which are coming in the measure and grow. So how do we make refinement to the scope? What are the tools and technique needed? Is there any specific KPI needed to implement on a specific type of project management? Example, predictive model, adaptive model, hybrid model, etc., etc. In case of Agile, maturity of scope is measured based on working software. So working software is the only measurement of progress. Working software is the only measurement of feedback. Working software is the only measurement of, or I would say primary measurement of, maybe we can become little pragmatic. We can say primarily we have to start for how well we are designing software incrementally. If I am unable to make anything incrementally, my refinements are not good enough. If it's already 2 months passed by and we are unable to show anything working, my refinements are not good. I may follow X model, Y model, I may make a nice diagram, I may make a nice user story. It's useless because working software is not there. Yeah, so that's a simple thing. We need to figure it out. How do we created a working software incrementally? So if at the end of a sprint, I can have something which stakeholders are excited about, I am doing good refinement. If many sprints are passing by and we are saying in the next sprint we will get something, in next sprint we are going into something, we are not doing good refinement of our work. Simple. Now, in case of predictive life cycle, we need to ask our stakeholder what kind of milestone they want to have and how do they measure progress on those milestones. Depending upon the nature of work, there could be some payment milestones. For example, if I am doing predictive life cycle, my payments are attached to few completion criteria. And if we achieve them, we will say we are doing good. We are making money incrementally. That could be a measurement. So in a predictive space, it is little difficult. It is more depending upon the area we are working on. Simply, the recommendation would be that we need to create work breakdown structure. We should have a level of a work breakdown structure which is manageable and workable. And if we reach there, we can say we have done a good refinement of our scope. Hybrid is a mix of these two things. So hybrid is no standard. Hybrid is something which can say that we are together. Yeah. So in the one of your video, you said planning can be done in any phase, because when the planning phase is not completed already, how can we go back to the same planning phase or do the planning work again? Most of the project life cycle will not have a planning as a phase. Yeah, in a pure predictive life cycle, you may have a phase called planning, but the planning activity is something which is done on a daily basis, or a replanning is done on a daily basis. You are in a deployment. You have hired a contractor. That contractor has delayed things for 3 days. Now you need to replan. Are you going to a planning phase again? Yeah. Even if you had a named phase called planning. So maybe a named phase called planning may constitute high-level planning activities, which gives you a baseline plan. But after getting a baseline plan, also your planning is not over. You have a one reference version, but planning will be continued throughout because the situation is changing throughout. The replanning is needed all the time. So as a project management, we should remember planning is an activity. Planning can be seen, if you talk in the language of PMBOK 6, as a process group, not as a phase. Yes, there could be some life cycles where planning comes as a phase, but if we look at critically, it is basically type of planning activities getting finished, type of deliverable get produced, and then we move to the next phase and we plan the activities of that next phase in detail. So I heard some were talking about agile games. So what is the meaning of agile games? How do we play agile games? So some of the simple way of thing is planning poker is an agile game. So it is something like gamifying the discussions, bringing some activities. That's the game. Uh, uh, you way of facilitating conversation so that engagement goes up many time is called games. Yeah, it is not only associated with agile, it is associated with general way of working. Yeah, now we can say that there is a book called Game Storming. Even that company has a website also named Game Storming, which talks about various games, management games. But actually, those games are facilitation activities. Like they will say, think about this area. You are thinking about project charter by focusing on 5 areas. That becomes a kind of a one game storming activities. Okay, so what is the role of Scrum Master in sprint planning? The core role of Scrum Master remains same as we discussed before, which we talked about in estimation. It's all about ensuring people are engaged in a sprint planning meeting, the conversations are focused, we are doing just enough discussion which help us in arriving to a sprint goal and the sprint backlog. It's we are focusing on including quality perspective. We are looking at definition of done. We are not targeting too much. We are not targeting too less. And I ensure this so the team comes up with a clear plan for their upcoming sprint. That is my goal. I'm not saying role. That is my goal. Now, I need to identify my activities to achieve that goal. So I may run the meetings or I may remain silent if team is already running it well. If they are not running it well, then I need to run it. If the team is already having structured agenda and they are following it and they are moving forward, I remain silent. If they are not having it, I help them to come up to the agenda. If team understand how much discussion they should do in order to arrive to a estimation, I remain silent. If team is unable to do it, then I need to get into the details. Yeah, that's it. I need to achieve my goal of reaching to a sprint goal and identification of a sprint goal and a sprint backlog or sprint plan, whatever word you use. I need to ensure engagement is happening with the product owner also, right amount of discussion, and respective stakeholders are also giving their feedback. So how are releases planned in Scrum? We don't know. You need to figure it out as per your team, because Scrum has, as a by the book, there is no prescription. So book is not giving you prescription. You need to find it out. So you can have a scope box releases where you can say that, oh, this much work whenever get finished, we will do a release. You can have a time box releases where you will say whatever we do in 3 months we will release, or whatever we do in 1 week we will release, or whatever we do in 1 day we will release. So from a Scrum perspective, you may do multiple times release during the sprint also, or you may take few sprints before you release to the business. Depending upon your market context, depending upon stage of your product, depending upon the environment or acceptability of customer taking those release, we need to find out our release strategy and release cycle. Yeah. So this is how you need to plan your releases. The sooner you do, the frequent you do is great. Yeah, that's the recommendation. Can you throw some light on PI planning? So in a skilled agile framework, that's a big thing. Yeah. And it can be related to a previous question. How do we do little long-term planning for our work? Yeah. So in a skilled agile framework, we work on two time boxes. There is a one big time box, which is called planning interval now. Earlier it used to be called program interval. So planning interval, which might be 8 to 12 weeks window. And inside that planning interval, we will run iterations of 2 weeks by default. Now, as a whole big group, so in the safe way of working, we work in a big group of agile teams, which is called agile release train. So as a big group, as a big agile release train, we should have a common purpose. And that common purpose for upcoming PI need to be planned together in collaboratively. We should be focusing on what can be done, and we should be also focusing on what is needed by the management. So we need to balance the management and our capacity, demand and our capacity. The whole balancing part and coming up, how are we going to do this goal of our upcoming PI? How are we going to resolve interdependency among multiple teams? That all is done in a PI planning meeting. We do have a video explaining PI planning meeting. Rather, we have 7 videos. It takes little time, and in our YouTube channel, you can find those 7 videos. Okay, so what is the meaning of pre-sales and what the pre-sale manager will do? They will do support before the sales. Yeah. So usually I have worked as a pre-sale guy, so I know what probably I have been doing, but organization may have different objective and way of working. So many times the technical solutioning is needed before you make a sale. And salespeople may not be that much expert in technology. And at the same time, technical people may not be available to do technical exploration when the sale is not yet done. So usually you have a bridge group which understand sales language little better, which also have a technical expertise, and they come up with presentation, customization, estimation of the things in order to make sale happen. And that group is called pre-sale. So when you need a demo for a particular solution, maybe a salespeople will do a super high level demo. If it goes into a second level, they will involve pre-sales consultant who will help them in getting the technical solution. So variance analysis is a very, very important term for PMP exam. If we have any confusion, then we need to reflect on our preparation for PMP exam. What is variance? It's a gap. That's it. You wanted to have 10, you have 9. It's a variance. So in a project management term, we need to identify a gap between what was expected, what was committed to the stakeholder, and where we are right now. And analysis of this gap is a variance analysis. What do you do with the help of analysis? We identify how can we patch the gap, reduce the gap. Or if we find out that we cannot reduce the gap, then probably we set the stakeholder expectation well and find out how can we stop this gap to become wider and wider day by day. So first, knowing where are we, how much is the gap, and then finding out corrective and preventive actions for it, and then also doing stakeholder communication so that everybody knows where we are right now is something as a job of a project manager, and it starts from identifying the gap, which is variance analysis. So simple variance could be we had a milestone which was expected to get released on say 15th of April. Now we see it is shifting to 15th of May. It's a variance. What do we do? And it was an intermediate variance. How do we ensure our future milestones are not getting deviated like this? Okay, so even after signing off, if bugs comes in the production, who will take the responsibility for it? Depends upon who will get burned out of it. So what is your money? When you get money, yeah, that will define the responsibility. If you have already taken the money, then is your contract has a warranty period? If that has also expired, then you will say, guys, give me money because my obligation is over. If your obligation is not over, if you have not got the money, or if your warranty period also has some stock blocked with it, then you need to handle it. So obligation from a customer vendor perspective can be understood by looking at a contract. I cannot tell, or any book cannot tell. Even if book tells you, your client will not accept you. They will take you to the court, yeah, because they will show you what is written in the contract. So what we need to see, what is written in our contract, how the defects has to be handled, how the defects will get estimated, who pay for it. That's the idea of contracts. So what could be the growth chart for Scrum Master in Career Ladder? We do have a blog about it. That's the first information, which explains 3 possible directions. But I believe that blog was written few months ago. Things are changing very drastically in last 1 month. Right now, staying Scrum Master itself requires some more work than just Scrum Master. So I would say it depends what are you doing other than Scrum Master in your current role. And that probably will define your future career ladder. More and more organizations are looking, the Scrum Master should have some secondary role as well. So if my secondary role is project management, my career ladder might move towards project management. If my secondary role is coaching, mentoring only, or I don't have a secondary role, then I probably will go as an agile coach because I am more agile person. If my organization is working in a multi-team environment, then I may grow as a multi-team Scrum Master as well. My recommendation for people who are in a Scrum Master job right now, I believe looking at a market scenarios, we should have some secondary skills and cross skills so that we can grow in that dimension as well as in a leadership and Scrum Master space together. Yeah. So how a Scrum Master deal with a product owner who brings regular changes, requirement even in the middle of the sprint? What is the problem? Who is suffering because of it? And can we quantify that problem? And can we talk to the person who is suffering because of the problem? So if I keep confusing my team and keep wasting my team effort, as a result, our output will be less. And if we are producing less than what we could produce on a consistent manner, I need to coach and show that problem to my people, be it a product owner, Scrum Master, stakeholder, or team members. So role of a Scrum Master is to show the facts, help the team to see how these facts are influencing and creating problem for you, and work collaboratively to find out how do we move forward. So if my product owner is bringing this, if I believe so, first, do we have a clarity what kind of consequences or loss we are creating because of it? Rework. First is that. If that is not there, then I need to clarify it. Yeah. Second, I need to understand what are the reason behind this particular behavior. Is it just because of the person is not interested in doing his job well, or because the environment itself is like this that we are getting dynamic changes? So I need to go to a cause also. If I understand the cause is like this, we cannot have a requirement frozen or identified or planned for a given 2 weeks, then probably I should stop doing Scrum. Yeah, I probably go into a flow-based system where we can plan our work every other day, every 2 days, every 3 days, yeah, or every 5 days. Or we can reduce the sprint cycle. Maybe we are running 3 weeks sprint, we can go to 2 weeks sprint because our requirements are changing very frequently. So such kind of problems can only be discussed when we have a right people in the room. We need to ask them. So first we need to see the impact in a fact-oriented manner. As a Scrum Master, my role is to make the impact visible in a fact-oriented manner. And I need to expose or understand or make everybody aware about the causes of it. So we know the cause, we know the result, and then we need to collaboratively work and find out what do we do about it. Yeah, the standard answer, somebody will say coach and mentor, but yeah, coach and mentor, but we need to see sometime maybe the system itself is wrong rather than the person is not. If the person is unable to do his job, I can coach and mentor, but what if the system itself is faulty? Then we need to do something differently. So we have 10 minutes left, and I am thinking what all is there. So what kind of suggestions Scrum Master gives to a PO when they are prioritizing product backlog? So I will repeat again the role of a Scrum Master. Your role is enablement role. Yeah. So how do I educate about various prioritization technique? How do I help in splitting the user stories? This all is part of our roles and responsibility section as well, the blog which I have been talking about. So which talks about educating prioritization, helping splitting user story, helping identifying acceptance criteria, and understanding where the struggle is so that prioritization can be done in a better way. Yeah? So explaining the concept and helping them in doing it. The difference between definition of done and acceptance criteria, we have a blog about it, so please do read eisenbridge/blog. Yeah, and in a simple word, acceptance criteria are associated with each user story. Yeah, so they elaborate the user story requirement in more detail, whereas a definition of done is usually associated with the overall software. So if I have a 3 user stories, they will have their own acceptance criteria. So for example, I have a 1 user story, I should be able to search a book so that I can identify which book to buy. The another user story is I want to write a review for a book. Or the third user story is I want to make a payment for the book, for example. Yeah. So these are 3 user stories. Now these user stories will have their own acceptance criteria. The first is I should be able to search using title. Yeah. I should be search using two words. Acceptance criteria. Now, definition of done, the first line of definition of done is ensure acceptance criteria are met. Yeah. So I need to make sure before I mark a story done, I need to meet acceptance criteria. So that's, I say, yeah, that's the first thing. What is additional thing coming in a definition of done? Ensure there is no level 1 defect open. Yeah, so I should, okay, it is not only acceptance criteria meeting, defects are also not open. I'm giving example only. So it is applicable for all 3 stories. Whenever I want to mark a story done, I need to ensure the defects are not open. Similarly, there could be many more things. So I request you to check the blog. It has an example also, and it explains these things in a more detail. So what about when you are managing the project with a limited resources? How do you allocate priority tasks? So I think most of us work with limited capacity all the time. and capacity is always limited. Think about yourself as a person. You may want to do 10 things, but you can only do 5 things in a day. Yeah, that's a limited capacity. So how do you prioritize? Yeah. You end up taking a call, you see urgent, important, there is a thing, so there is something like can wait, can't wait, having a delays or having high cost of failure. So we take those call on a regular basis. Now, in a simple word, depending upon project, the prioritization criteria may vary. Some projects are production things, so production issues gets done. You may have a severity of issues also. If you are handling the project where you have a severity 1, severity 2, severity 3 issues, you take care of severity 1 first. You keep deprioritizing severity 2. You have a clear criteria of what is severity 1, what is severity 2. So depends. Yeah, exactly. But yes, I need to come up with my context, and I need to work with my limited resources. In general, anyone working is always working with limited resources. Yeah. If we don't think we have a limited resources, it could be that we are trying to do very few things. Yeah. If we try to do many things, we will always have a limited resources. Okay, so I think this is something we are focusing on. So how do you optimize Scrum team velocity to identify improvement opportunity? I would say you don't do it. The answer is same. You show the facts, you show the pattern, and work together with the team to find out what can be done. And you also help in removing impediments by following your role as explained in our blog roles and responsibility of Scrum Master. You help team in becoming high performing and effective. So when the team is high performing, when team is self organized, your role is not there to optimize the velocity. If you are thinking for team to improve their velocity, please think that there is already a way to go as a Scrum Master role, because you have not reached to a stage where team can think for themselves to take care of their problem. Yeah. So it is a problem where my Scrum Master role is not yet matured. I have not learned the technique of making them engaged rather than I am thinking for them. From my side, my basic role as a Scrum Master for related to velocity improvement is I remove problems. So I remove problems from my team path. I ensure they have an open and fast communication. I ensure they have a good knowledge sharing, which leads to better development and releases. So Pdus and all we can talk. We do have a blog explaining how to earn Pdus. For open hour session, we are not defining the learning objective and we are not registering it in a PMI. So people can self-claim, but we don't have a defined activity in a PMI because it is open-ended. So we don't know what we will talk during that time. If we are only talking about certification, then it may not qualify for Pdus. So you can see, but we do have a blog which shows how to earn 60 Pdus without spending money. So that can help you in earning Pdus. So I am skipping the role of Scrum Master things because I do believe that a lot of ideas are coming and they can be learned from Scrum Master role. Yeah. So I'm not taking Scrum Master role questions now, and I'm going in a next type of question. So should DevOps to be a part of Scrum team or as they have a shared resources? I think we need to see how teams are organized in the organization. We need to have a sharing of culture. So culture should be sharing accountability. Now, is it a part of Scrum team, not part of a Scrum team? That depends. Yeah. But when it comes, the taking care of opportunity, the accountability of deliver, that should be shared. In my personal observation, I usually see it as a more like a shared resource rather than a Scrum team resources. Yeah, people who facilitate configuration management and deployment, they are usually shared. So the question is, when are we going to get Safe 6 video, which talks about what are the difference and an insight through your videos. So I presented the blog, yeah, rather than a video this time, Richard, because I think the differences are not that much significant. Yeah, so I thought I put a blog. We'll see if the momentum remains about the difference, then we probably give a blog also on Safe 6 and the differences around it. So what are the different metrics at a team level, ART level, solution level? scaleagileframework.com/measure and grow. Yeah. So you have all these matrices well explained. So Scale Agile talks about three types of matrices: flow matrices, competency matrices, and outcome matrices. Inside the flow matrices, you can find out all the possible matrices at different level. So Scale Agile framework can give you a better idea for all these flow matrices. Do we do one-on-one coaching? We can see case by case. As of now, my other colleagues do it rather than I do myself. But we can see, drop us an email. We will see if it can be fit into something. Yeah. Okay, so I do the tech learn. I do recommend you to take a Scrum Master class if you have not taken it, because see, like small things about Scrum. If we discuss it here, it will be too much. It's already our time box is over. So say velocity, sprint burn down, all these things are the agenda item of the basic Scrum training. Now, if you have been through the Scrum training and still you are not getting it, then probably we can recommend you some practical training. For our teams, we do give them online content also so that people can refresh on it. But whatever topic you are saying, sprint burn down chart, velocity chart, if you search on our video content also, you can get the details. Repeating it here may lose the whole time. So is there any upper limit for a Scrum Master role? For example, any person having 15 years experience, etc., they may switch a job. So you see that each organization has different expectation from a roles. So it will be difficult to say the Scrum Master roles are same in all the organizations. Salaries are also different from different organization. But yes, the Scrum Master role is usually associated with team leadership. Yeah. So you can say that, yeah, but it depends upon the organization. But yes, after 15 plus years, usually in a current way of working, people may move away from Scrum Master job because that may lead to a multi-team management rather than a single team leadership role. Yeah, so that's an observation, but it can change depending upon organization to organization. So as I said, for the growth of Scrum Master, the secondary skill is important, and that secondary skill helps you in identifying what is your future roadmap. Yeah. So if you are doing project management, you are doing product ownership, or you are doing coaching and facilitation, then you take the path forward and move in that particular direction from practical purpose. Theoretically, we can say Scrum Master can remain Scrum Master for 50 years, but that's what we observe in our industry. PMP1, PMP2, I'm not aware what is PMP1, PMP2. So sorry. So how to make some ceremonies time boxed? It is all about facilitation. So we need to facilitate in such a way so that we have an agreement and we adhere to the agreement. Yeah. Agreement can change also. You don't have to make everything hard stop, but there are some cases when you need to do a hard stop. So as a technique, this all is a facilitation technique. Stakeholder register is the thing which you do to identify a stakeholder. Yeah, that's there, but you can take it further. So there are two things. Identification is done in the stakeholder register. Who does what? You can use RACI for it, or you can have some roles and responsibility chart for it. But the stakeholder register will talk about the high level category, but may not get into the activities level detail of what stakeholders are expected to do. Yeah. So I would say for your question, it should be RACI chart. PMP training we are starting upcoming week. Yeah, that's something you can check on our website. It's a live session. It will happen on the weekends. I think 2 weeks from now, 29th around. Yeah, and you can drop us an email. How to overcome a fear of facing interview? Give interview, or give a mock interview. Maybe you can find some friends who can take mock interview for you. That something is done. Okay, last question. What is value stream, lead, and how can help drive analysis and engagement with the stakeholder? So I am not sure which particular framework defines value stream lead. In a Scrum, probably it is not there. Now, if you are talking about scaled agile, we can say that, yeah, we do have development value stream. And if you want to put someone as a value stream lead there as a development value stream, then that person can facilitate collaboration and coordination amongst the value stream. That much I can pick up, but if you have a specific framework, better we figure it out what framework tells about that particular role. Yeah, but in general, it's all about leadership, facilitation, coordination, collaboration, which help us in releasing things. Okay, so I think this is what we do for today, and we meet on our fourth Friday now. I think Noor was asking about it, 28th of April. Yeah.
Great. It was non-stop session, question after question. So there's already a spillover, so I'll not take much time. And all the important links of the blogs and the PMP session and our email address, I have shared everything here. So feel free to connect us back. If you have more questions, you have our email address, and me, Saket, everybody is very active on LinkedIn. We can discuss there also. And we'll catch up again on fourth Friday of uh, April month, which is 28th of April. Yes. Okay. Bye for now. Take care. Bye.